anything that you want to comment in particular or like go over, then comment it and we'll talk about it. But yeah, we're just talking about Biden dropping out. Hey Noah,
Hey, hey, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
What a day.
Yeah, can we? I don't know. Can we get into it? I know. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. All right. So obviously we all saw Biden dropped out. We're like 3.5 months away from November. Um, he's endorsed Kamala Harris to be the nominee. How? What are your thoughts about everything? Like,
Um, I'm shocked that it actually happened, but I think it actually just increases the chances that a Democrat defeats Trump
you
in
think?
November. hmm
You think we're
I
gonna
do.
win?
Um, I don't know. I think it's still up for debate whether Kamala can beat Trump, but I think she has a better shot than Biden. I mean, like, I think if
Really?
you can, yeah, I think if you look at it like holistically, I think it's like, if I told you like a blind eye test that a president with 38% approval rating, who 60-ish percent of people in his own party don't want him to run, you would say, why would this person run against someone? And I think the fact that Trump is a really, really weak candidate, I think if you actually stomached through his convention speech like I did, there are so many things that you can attack him for, and the fact that Biden is
But
losing, it's
but
not
he
good.
won. He won. He was a weak candidate in 2016, and he had like a boatload of stuff with him in 2016, and
hmm
he won then. So I have no doubt that he could win again in November.
hmm Trump can still win, and I think it's like the thing of, and we talked about this last time, where it's like I think that Kamala has just a better chance of beating Trump. That's not to say that she'll win. I think she has a better chance, and given that Trump is such a threat for women's rights, all these things that you and I and folks probably listening care about. If someone has a little bit better of a chance of beating this really bad person, then like let's go. And I think it's good that it's Kamala. I'm glad that Joe Biden came out and immediately said it's Kamala, because that kind of gets everything else out the way in terms of other people making their nominations. It's like, no, we're going to get behind this black woman. That's something that we should all do. And I think Kamala, just me being honest, is more effective to communicate how Trump is a threat than Biden. I mean, Biden's key skill was governing. And I think he's done that actually really, really, really well. But the aspect of kind of campaigning and communicating your message, we can all agree that that wasn't his strong suit. And I think that not being his strong suit kind of translated to a lot of the problems that we've seen pre-debate too, because I think what people kind of understand is that he was losing before the debate. It's like we just didn't have these kind of aggressive questions in terms of like, can he do this? He was losing before the debate.
I
He
don't
was
know if
losing all
I.
year.
I don't know if I agree with that. Hold on. Oh,
hmm
we have a comment. She will eat him alive in the debate. I totally
Totally
agree.
agree.
I was telling my
Totally agree.
mom earlier. I can't wait to see them
hmm
face off in the debate. Um, I want to know, did you see AOC on live the other day where
hmm
she was
I saw
talking
clips.
about, and
hmm
she brought up the fact that she was saying, obviously she's in these rooms with a lot of Democrats, and she was saying that a lot of people don't want Kamala to be the nominee, and she was saying a lot of them do want to get rid of the ticket as a whole. So I'm wondering what it's going to look like, people rallying around her leading up to the convention. Even looking at the statement Barack Obama put out, he
hmm
didn't endorse her in the statement. And obviously, Barack Obama is like a really good
Yeah,
politician. Like
calculated.
everything he does is very well, exactly calculated and well thought out. So for him to not endorse, I mean, I'm not surprised by that, but
Well, let's.
like with 3.5 months to go, it's like we kind of got to go fast. I mean, you saw
Yeah.
Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton endorse today. CBC endorsed
hmm
Kamala today. Um, so Barack Obama not immediately endorsing, I mean, I
I
guess a little surprised,
wouldn't have
but
done that. I wouldn't have advised him to do
he's a
that.
great politician. So I mean, not
Yeah,
shocked. But what does it mean for the rest of the party? I mean, things have kind of been all over the
I
place, even with how they
think.
treated Biden, like in the past month.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of this is not ideal, but then I think the thing that I am reflecting and going back to is that um, this is unfortunate. This is not the thing that anyone would have wanted to happen. But taking the individual out of it, which is I think is a process that I think Democrats should be happy for, is that like the Republicans would not do this. They would just say we're going to go with Trump, even though he has all these concerns that he's been basically accused, incredibly accused, and all these like legal proceedings happen in terms of him being honestly was raping someone, in terms of all these other things, I think we'd acknowledge that, hey, this is not our best foot forward. We can pivot. It's not about Joe Biden
But
in this moment. It's about defeating
we
this
could
threat
have
in Trump.
pivoted if that we could have pivoted a year ago. We
Totally
could have
agree.
pivoted a long
Totally
time
agree.
ago. So waiting to where we are right now, I think. Well, speaking to me, I'm very frustrated with the party because we've
I am
known
too.
Biden's age for a while. Like we've had so much time. Sorry, we've had so much time to bring another candidate forward, and to wait until 3.5 months out to go is like I do still think we can win.
I do
But
too.
just in terms of like how it looks, I don't love that, and just
Yeah,
how everything played out, the lack of unity is a little concerning to
I
me.
think it's concerning, and but then I think it's kind of there's a larger party failure that I think that we need to discuss at another time.
Oh wait,
But then
we
I
have a comment. Can I pin this comment? I agree with that. Somebody said if the Dem elites don't rally behind Kamala by the end of the day tomorrow, we are kind of screwed. Yeah, we have 3.5 months. Like it's no, like
no, I
we have to get.
yeah, I would agree, and I think it's like there's nothing wrong to adjusting to new information as you get it, and I think for a lot of people, myself included, seeing Biden on that stage was like, whoa, that was a changing moment that I think we all had to adjust
Okay,
to new information as we got it.
me and Noah, we disagreed about this topic of if Biden should step down. Noah thought that he should drop out. I did not think he should drop out because of time. But I guess just like now where we are, obviously he's dropped out. Like, where do we go from here?
I,
Convention is a month away.
I think personally, the most important thing, the next 96, if I'm putting on my campaign hat, like I know you can,
Hmm.
the next 96 hours, I think, are the most important moments for this campaign. And I think for Kamala Harris's political career. And then I think throughout, I think her time, either both in the Senate and as VP, I think that personal side of her, where I think we know that she can prosecute the case against Trump, as the comment said, she's going to eat Trump up. Um, it's about partly her, the policies that she would do, but also the reasoning why. And I think that she has to let people behind that curtain a little bit, which for caveat is harder, given that she is a black woman and we don't give black women that equal space to kind of explore themselves personally. Kamala really needs to do that. She needs to tell, hey, this is my upbringing and this is why I support these things. I don't think she's ever really done that. A part of it is her background, I think, as a prosecutor, but I also think she really needs to make America feel comfortable with her. And granted, that's a loaded question because for black women in really high spaces, they're always going to get judged. They're always going to have, they're judging the book by its cover. But I think that aspect of kind of knowing who she is personally, and even as someone tuned into politics, I don't necessarily know why she does the things that she does, or the grand reasoning behind, hey, this upbringing that I had, that I grew up with, I'm translating that here. Like for Joe Biden, he consistently says, I'm that guy from Scranton. I grew up in this town. I grew up here, here, here." With Kamala, we don't always know those little details in terms of how she grew up, and her story is equally as impactful. Growing up with a Indian mother and a Jamaican father, how those lessons that she learned translates to why she's advocating so hard and why she did the things that she did. I don't think we necessarily know that, but I think
Yeah,
she needs to showcase that. And I think she didn't really do it, I think, effectively in 2020, where she essentially killed Joe Biden in the first debate. And then I don't think she really had that next thing to say. So I think
yeah.
now she
You know
obviously
what?
needs to kill Trump, but follow it up.
Yeah, I liked also that like in her statement today that she just put out, she mentioned defeating Trump in Project
Mm-hmm.
2025, and
Yep.
I thought that was really impactful that she put Project
Mm-hmm.
2025 in that
Yep.
statement, and I think that's going to be like a big rallying thing this time around, because Project 2025 has already like been getting steam,
And to
and Trump
me,
is trying to separate himself from it, but
yeah,
I think
and
it's
he
going to
can't.
be a huge thing. Yeah, I mean he can lie, but
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think that's, I think, Kamala's biggest strength is that no one can talk about, to me, what the biggest issue that Republicans have, which is, democracy, Supreme Court, abortion. No one can prosecute that case better than the former attorney, as Kamala Harris. No one can talk about how these things align up and here's how all these things are bad. And I think no one can do that better than her. Because if you've seen her like the last couple of days, she's been really, really hitting it hard. And I think as long as she kind of translates that, but adds that kind of personal element to it, I think the sky is the limit. Like I said, I'm not going to guarantee that I think that she'll win because I don't know, because there is a timing element to this. But I think for me, there is no denying that she has a better case and a better chance of beating Trump than Biden. Where I think with Biden and Trump, it was kind of a slow. It honestly felt like a kind of like a slow bleed out, where the things that Biden needed to do, I don't think he had just the communication ability to be able to do so. That has nothing to do with his age at all. It just has to literally do with his communication style. he was not able to prosecute that case against Trump in terms of, hey, this is why
Yeah.
Project 2025 is bad. He didn't mention it during the debate. And it's
I
like,
feel like
Kamala's
the
not going to let
million,
Trump
yeah.
slide on those things.
I feel like the $1 million question that a lot of people have right now is like in 2016, Hillary Clinton couldn't do it. And so the prospect of having another woman who is a black woman, knowing how racist this
Can
country
I
is, like,
can
yeah,
I push back on you on this? I think that it's easy, I think, to compare things, but I also think that in 2016 and in 2024, Trump has had the luxury of honestly going against very publicly flawed candidates, and that Hillary Clinton had all of these kind of things, some of which I will have to acknowledge were not like honestly her fault. It was the media's perception of her and kind of how that spiraled out of control. A lot of that was unfair because she was a woman, but they had decades of material to go off of that kind of stuck in the public conscious where Biden, his age was number one and it was in your face. Kamala's hits are going to, like, she is at baseline not a walking liability. Her biggest liability will kind of be detaching from Biden in these select ways that have to do with her age, but there's no like one hit. Obviously, it's the fact that she is a black woman that frames the whole entire conversation, but she is not the political liability that Hillary was in 2016 and that Biden was today. And also, like, Hillary could have won if James Comey just didn't kind of do what he did. Like, I think there are like little individual moments that play a factor in it, but I would not compare Kamala to Hillary in that I think Kamala just doesn't have the baggage. And if her baggage is her just solely being a black woman, I won't fault you on that, but I don't think it's comparable and that there's not 25 years of
yeah.
bad press that Kamala has to go through.
Hold on. We got another comment. As someone who loosely keeps up with politics, I agree. I don't know Kamala as an individual. She needs to work to connect with Americans through sharing her upbringing. I feel like that's a great point that I haven't really thought of. I think that when you're a woman in this space, it's kind of like a push and pull that you have
You
to
have
do
to
of
be
like,
guarded. That's
yeah,
natural. You have to be.
exactly. So seeing how she can break that, I think would be interesting. And just like peeling back the layers of like who
Mm-hmm.
who she is as a person. And I think again, the Democrats obviously have a messaging problem because there's so much that they do that they don't talk about well. Because the Biden and Harris administration, I mean, I know everyone has a lot of thoughts about it, but they have accomplished a lot
Mm-hmm.
actually in four
I would
years.
agree.
So it really needs to get to talking about the record, like talking about the things that they have been doing, because I think a lot of people aren't really aware of that and like really pushing the narrative. Like I was the vice president to a very successful administration and, with 4 more years, I can do this, that.
Yeah, and I think a part of it is that I think it has to be the balance because I think, and this is I think the really really hard thing that they have to do, and they have to have a little bit of restraint here, is that because most people do not know what they did, they don't have enough time to try to convince people. Here's what we did, and here's why it's actually good. Because the average person is going to say, "I'm looking at my wallet, I'm looking at gas prices, I'm looking at the prices of groceries. Nothing has changed. So you have to sell me on something else." And granted, some of that is unfair. Biden has done a lot of stuff that hasn't kind of had time to kind of get through yet. But I think he has to kind of couple, or Kamala has to now couple it with, here are the things that we have done, which provides us the path to do even more. Here are the more things that I want to do. Where I think too often what Biden's problem was that he kept looking back. He kept saying, well, my record is this. No one cares. What are you going to do for me coming up? And I think Kamala needs to say, like, hey, a part of Project 25, here's what they'll do. Here's what I'll do. Put it side by side. And I think that she has to match that. Like where if Republicans, I would frankly say it, if Republicans control the levers of government, they will do a national abortion ban. You can't deny that. I've seen what you talk about. I've seen what your vice president has talked about. He wants to do that. I'm not going to do that. I want to do blank of. I want to protect abortion nationally. And if you give me a Democratic Congress, I'll do that day one. She needs to talk about these things because I think too often they get tracked in, and likely, these are prideful people, but they can't look backwards given that there is a disconnect between what they've done and what people feel. But the last thing they need to do is try to fix that today because that's not where the biggest problem is. And they should have probably done a lot of this stuff years ago, months ago, but now we're here. And I think they can't try to force people to think that all of a sudden, like, the economy is a lot better than actually you think it is, which is true, but they don't have the time to try to convince that. And even then, that's looking backwards, not forwards. They need to kind of showcase what Kamala's vision is for 2025 to 2029 and compare that to what Trump would do. I think that's their easiest case as opposed to like hey, here's what the CHIPS Act did, or here's what, the Infrastructure Act did. It's like, no, 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 no. Like, it's don't do that. You're wasting time.
I will say what's interesting is I feel like a lot of people that haven't really been invested in the race, I've actually been seeing them post today, like, okay, like, what are we about to do?
Hmm.
And I feel like dislike of Joe Biden that some people may have aside, like, we've seen him beat Donald Trump before, so there's some kind of comfort there in knowing,
Hmm.
like, he's beat Donald Trump before. So now being back to kind of like square one, 3.5 months
Hmm.
out from an election, it's like, people, the confidence is kind of, I don't know.
The
It's a weird
and this
period.
is and this is where I have to even like take off my political hat, in that I think the average person, um, and that has nothing to do with socioeconomics, race. Just if you like got 10 random people, they don't pay attention to politics until the fall. That's uncomfortable to admit, but like they don't pay attention until they absolutely need to. A lot of people saw the debate because they pay attention to those like kind of major things, but the average voter is not watching um, Trump's convention speech. Now that Kamala is deemed to be the nominee, they're probably going to watch Kamala's speech and try to figure out who this person is. And I think if I were actually Kamala, I would actually want to try to do a national address. Like I would do one today or tomorrow. So people can kind of people need to understand her very, very quickly. And I also think she needs to get ahead of it and define herself before the Republicans define her. And I think now is the time where she has to say, hey, I come from these immigrant backgrounds and this is why I'm doing this. And I think, that to me is the most important thing is like, can she just define herself without someone else defining her? And I think if she kind of just lets go of that fear that we talked about, which is natural because I think black women do, like we talked about, black women do not have the space to be able to express themselves freely without judgment. And that not only really has to do with Kamala, that has to do with any black woman working anywhere. You don't feel like you can say what you want to say because someone's going to assume something that you didn't mean. But I think in the context of today, Kamala just needs to literally just be an open book, let it all out, talk about her upbringing, her childhood, her experience at Howard University, how that allowed her to go to Berkeley and be this well accomplished, smart woman that she really is. But she needs to like be honest about that. And I think she needs to say, like, hey, this wasn't perfect, and hey, here's who I am. Yes, I was a prosecutor. That's okay. But as long as you're talking about it honestly, my job was to try to protect my community, and I wanted to do that in the best way possible. I think she ran from that, and I don't think she can't do that now. She needs to be like comfortable with herself and her own story, which has gotten her here. Like, there's no misstep that she did. I think she just needs to be like, here's me.
Another thing I feel like we should touch on is like the media's role in all of this. Again, seeing how this past month has played out since the debate, the kind of obsession that there has been with Biden. And this is not to say that his age wasn't like a serious thing to
Mm-hmm.
be worried about, but the amount of media coverage, like on that issue of his
Crazy.
age, Democrats pressuring him to drop out, all of the coverage on that, and like really barely saw anything about his hour and a half rambling at the RNC
Mm-hmm.
convention, barely talking about, these criminal charges that he has, barely talking about his actual lives during the debate, barely holding him accountable to lying about his role in Project 2025 and his affiliation with the people involved in it. And I'm just wondering, like, how long are we going to keep letting him get off the hook for these things? I know Democrats are always held to a higher standard,
I was gonna
but
say
I
that.
do think, yeah, no, I mean, they
Yeah,
are. They
they are.
are always held to a higher standard. But I moving forward, I kind of see the media being like, are Democrats split in supporting Kamala, like trying to like really play on like kind of those tensions and
And
confusion there, and
that's I
again
think
letting Trump get off the hook with everything
and
he's been getting off the hook with already.
that's I think why um, Democrats still haven't like, kind of like learned the lesson from 2016 is that I think they have to go into it realizing that like the national media and the political media is not your friend.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like, yes, they're supposed to be unbiased, but they obviously see Democrats as, the influenceable people who are always trying to do right. So the conversation that we would have about stuff that Democrats should do is totally different than the conversations we
Mm-hmm.
have about Republicans. The Democratic media ecosystem is not shaped up in the same way as the Republicans one is, which it shouldn't be. It shouldn't just be Fox News where we're just going to say we're going to go with this no matter what. They ask more questions, but I also think that means that Democrats need to engage in media solely for their own benefit, and that means doing stuff that don't just do the press hits on CNN and MSNBC and all of these other traditional media environments. Seek other stuff. What are people watching who you need? we talked about it last week where I said like, hey, like someone should do something on Funny Marco or someone should do something on Drink Champs. Like be creative, meet people where they are, because the problem is that if there's a media gap and you don't feel like traditional media is doing it, find the media that will get you that.
Let's
And that
put
national conversation isn't going to do that.
let's put Harris on Kai Cenat. I'm saying Kai Cenat or
Yeah, I wouldn't do that one specifically, but I think like you're thinking the right way.
no,
Like they need to
exactly.
do,
I mean,
yeah, they
like
need to
I
do
think
stuff like that.
like Speedy
Mhm.
Mormon, I think was a
That was
start.
they should have, and to your point, Biden should have done that months ago. Like he should have been doing those specific things a long, long time ago. Whether it's putting ads in front of stuff that we watch. There's no reason why there should not have been an Abbott Elementary ad that was not plastered and littered with Biden Harris ads. They need to start doing those things now, and I think their comms team has kind of let them down in that kind of sense, and that they haven't
Mm,
been meeting us where we are. And it's not just doing the traditional Essence Fest, BET Award stuff. It's like, what
hmm.
are we watching? What are we talking about? Where it's like,
Yeah, I
do
really
those
am. Yeah,
things.
I'm
Pay Kendrick
very.
Lamar whatever money it needs to be to have an ad right after or right before Not Like Us video.
I really want to see like the
Like,
direction of the campaign. From what I've heard, it sounds like the campaign will like pretty much be the
be the
same, and
same. It'll be the same.
she might shuffle in some
Senior
people like
leaders and
closer to her. Yeah, but I'm really curious to see kind of what the next week will entail of how
Mhm.
they hit the ground running with this.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, that'll be the key thing is kind of how, because Kamala can't do what Joe Biden did. And I don't think that's to say that Biden was doing anything wrong, so to speak, but it has to have Kamala's own fingerprint on this. She is a different candidate. She's going to have different priorities, and I think she needs to like not just say, "Hey, we're going to continue to do what Biden did." No, no, no. What specifically would you do? And that can be different from Biden, and that's okay. And I hope that she feels the freedom to say, like, "Hey, not even compare, but just say, hey, in my administration, this is what we're going to do. We're going to shore up, access to reproductive health. We're going to do this, this, and this." That might not have been what Joe Biden was focused on, but who cares?
We
I'm
have
I'm now the candidate.
we have a question. Who would be the VP pick? I'm thinking straight white male, liberal, not too liberal.
I
Like
think we're going to
a
say the same
I'm
person in the
thinking
end.
like a Roy. I was going to say Roy Cooper from North Carolina, somewhere in a state like that. I don't know. Who are you thinking?
My only kind of pick was I landed on Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania. Roy Cooper would be nice, but I think, and for context, VPs don't really mean that much in kind of like the grand scheme, but you need a counterbalance. So I think you need someone who can,
Cookie cut.
the
I
way I
think
would,
cookie cutter. Yeah.
yeah, just someone who's not bad. Like if, a VP pick could be great and it's not going to move the needle, but like the only example is like if, you pick someone who's like Sarah Palin, that
Yeah.
actually can like hurt you. You just need to find someone who is like basic level.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to hurt us. Great, sign up. Cooper would be good. I think he would provide a different element, but once again, he's not going to
Yeah.
move the needle, so to speak.
Yeah. My God, I just feel like from last week, seeing what happened at the Trump rally, well, from the debate, Trump rally to here, it's getting wild so fast.
And the funny thing is that I actually think this is a conversation we should have. Where actually, once the stuff, the shooting happened last week, I was like, oh my God, like the polling hasn't moved, which I actually think kind of signifies like the opportunity that I think Kamala has, and that like Trump is really, really not likable. The same way how we talk about how Democrats didn't want Biden to run. I think there was a recent poll that came out last week that said a fourth of Republicans don't want him to be the nominee. To your point of like, why isn't the media talking about this? Another issue. But that also goes to say like just how weak Trump is. Like
Mm.
he's not this like super, super strong candidate. He's lost the popular vote in every election. He's gonna lose it this time no matter what. But it's like this guy is really, really beatable. This Trump is not some like super, super hard person to beat. His favorability is really, really low. People aren't really enthusiastic. He's not really good with independents. It's like there are all these things that signify just how like this is not like some like Reagan type Republican. He's like really, really beatable. And if not for kind of a few things that happened in 2016, he lost pretty handily in 2020. And if not for kind of Joe Biden having a really, really strong kind of weakness, he would be losing again. So I think it's like Kamala really has a good opportunity if kind of like timing can kind of get these things right and she can really work and the campaign has to work really, really hard in these next 3 months. But I watched that debate and I said Trump is really, really beatable. Like and I think
Yeah.
this is actually the biggest thing is that I think it'll be very interesting going forward where I think that Trump is not good when he has to kind of work in these moments where he has to be quick on his feet. He was able to define Joe Biden, just kind of always go back to his age, knowing that that was a national conversation. But now he has to work. Kamala's going to hit him. He has to respond back. And Trump is actually worse when he has those moments of improvisation, when he has those moments where he's allowed to cook because he always says the wrong thing and it always hurts him. So I think now that kind of Trump actually has like to fight a little bit, that should actually be the best thing for Democrats is because Trump is never good at those moments. He can't, like you watch his convention speech, he rambles. He doesn't know what he's saying. And when it's actually Kamala saying, I would do this, what would you do? And he goes off on a tangent, that's not going to look good juxtaposed to what Kamala is saying, who's able to effectively talk about why she would want to do this, effectively talk about how Project 2025 is bad. Trump doesn't stick to any talking point. So it's like the more room he's able to go, the better it is for Kamala's chances. So I'm actually like really excited. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to work in the end, but it's possible. And I think that for people who are like, kind of frustrated about kind of overall and Biden, I think, it's just really being honest where I think, does Kamala have a better chance to attack Trump, to go at Trump, to communicate better? Yes. And right now in this moment, that's honestly what we needed. And it's unfortunate that it had to happen 3 months out, but we adjust. And they should be able to figure it out or make this a race, which I think before 2 p.m. today, I didn't think it was. And now I think it's a legit conversation.
Okay, well, I think that's a great way to end off. These are just our like initial thoughts and reactions. Obviously, like in the coming days, we will have more. But thank you for joining. And we'll probably definitely be on here again very soon.
Because there's news happening every week now.
Yeah, every hour. Yeah.
So thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, y'all. Bye.
All right.